There we go. All right, let's try that again, because apparently there is going to be what is it now, almost 3-minute delay at the start of this, of us just lip syncing to
Yeah.
no sound, because apparently my mic got changed over to default instead of my boom mic here. So anyway, let's start again. So, welcome to Atlantic Bushcraft Adventures. Tonight it's episode 179. I'm sure that somebody texted me saying there's no sound. Yep. So yeah, tonight we're talking about embracing the adventure. So, as I mentioned when you couldn't hear us, Ben couldn't join us tonight. He's still working on moving across the country. He's actually dealing with getting his vehicle to his new location here tonight. So, by all means, we understand there is a priority there. He has to try and get his stuff over there, his family over there, his vehicles over there, all his work moved over there, move in, get the internet connected, get set up. I mean, it's a lot to do. So, we have the lovely Melissa joining us tonight. Thank you for joining us again, Melissa. No rude comments this time. The people can hear.
You're welcome.
So, yeah.
You missed the sassier answer when we were muted, but that's okay.
So tonight we're talking about embracing the embracing the adventure. So what we mean by that, actually, now that we've already done the lip syncing, I'm going to roll it back over to you. Right before we started the podcast, but during our muted session, we had a real good way of explaining that. So what does that mean, Mel? To us, anyway. To, like, me, you, and our family in general. Because we use this a lot. It's just part of the adventure.
So we just turn everything into an adventure, which for us just means that we don't necessarily know how it's going to go. And we don't get upset or stress about the small things that don't go right. We just are in it for the journey. We're here for the adventure of it. We'll see what successes and goals we can meet maybe while we're going along with it, but there's no real expectation for how things are going to turn out, which means really no, hard feelings about how things turn out either.
No, and that is actually an awesome way to go into some of this. And a very quick story, because it's completely relevant and it just happened. For example, we went on an adventure for our vacation.
Okay, so the thing is that every year for Robert and I's anniversary, we have what we call an anniversary adventure. So it usually involves some kind of outdoorsing, and we always make a point to, have a new goal that we want to do, or something specific we want to see, or something like that. But yeah, so then you can carry on. So this year's anniversary adventure, so this is number 13.
Okay, you got it.
Our 13th wedding anniversary was just at the beginning of August. And we took it on our work vacation and we went for an adventure.
Yep, so we took 2 weeks off. Our Melissa's parents were good enough to take Lily for a couple days there, so Mel
For
and
an
I...
entire week.
Yeah, so
It was
an entire
fantastic.
week. It was great. The break was nice. We missed our kid, don't get us wrong, but the break was nice.
And she loves spending time with her grandparents.
She is
no hard
such a
feelings
grandparents
anywhere
girl,
there.
so there's nothing there. She enjoyed it, and we enjoyed it. It gave us the opportunity to kind of go do an adventure we've been talking about, but we didn't really know if we wanted to take Lily along on this one just yet. One, it would have changed the way we done the adventure, because we did
Absolutely.
take the ATV. So the story is, we planned to go to Wallace River Ranch, and anybody that's in Nova Scotia, huge shout out to Wallace River Ranch there. Those folks are amazing. If you were thinking about going to one of those dome structures for a night, check out Wallace River Ranches. In no way are we affiliated with them.
No.
Like, we are literally one of the first people that went down there and stayed.
They've just opened. They're brand new.
Yeah, they were just starting to take bookings as of August 1st, I think, and we managed to squeak in at the end of July.
July 1st, yeah.
Okay, sorry. But anyway, we were one of the first couple people that stayed there. Amazing places. Go check it out. Super nice people. They went out of their way to accommodate us. Amazing. It's pretty on target for prices in the area and stuff like that, so they're not gouging anything like that. It was great. Anyway, getting back to the story. We decided to go to Wallace River Ranches. We wanted to sleep in one of these domes. Originally, we were going to sleep somewhere else. They were booked up solid, blah, 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 blah. So we found this place. We contacted them. They're like, yep, sure, we'd love to have you. And we went out. So, here is where the adventure begins. We wanted to take the ATV and do some riding on the trail.
So, so our whole goal was to traverse a section of the Trans-Canada Trail, which is kind of an all-access trail that runs across our country. So we, of course, are doing a huge section. We were there for a couple of days. But we did have, an end piece that we hadn't seen before, and we hadn't stayed in Wallace River before. It's very out of the way place. It's not like it's a metropolis of Nova Scotia out in Wallace.
Nova Scotia's not a metropolis.
Beautiful
Halifax is not a metropolis compared to a lot of other cities.
Rural community. And we wanted to hit the Trans-Canada Trail, to take the ATV, and to just really get out there and live the trail life for a couple of days. Yeah.
So we had already done the run from Pictou to Tatamagouche before, and I'm going to be naming a lot of places. If you're not familiar with the area, I apologize, but I do. If you're interested, just bring up Google Maps, type in Pictou, Nova Scotia, Canada, Tatamagouche, Nova Scotia, Canada, and you'll kind of see what we're talking about there, and you'll see the Trans-Canada Trail System. Anyway, we had done the run from Pictou to Tatamagouche, so originally when we had planned this, we were going to park in Pictou and take the bike the entire way. We were going to go through River John, Tatamagouche, go straight out to Wallace River, and we were going to stay there. However, leading up to the events, somebody had burnt one of the bridges that was on the trail. Mm-hmm. So instead of staying around there and leaving the truck and all that stuff, we said, well, we'll just keep going. We'll find another place to park.
And also, it was in the middle of a heat wave, so plus 40 degrees Celsius for like the entire time we were out there.
What are we talking about?
It was hot. So we were thinking that the truck's air conditioner could be a bit of a reprieve if necessary. We are very safety conscious, honestly, and heat exhaustion and heat stroke are real and something that you need to be very mindful of when you're outdoors in those kinds of temperatures. It's no joke. So we did kind of alter our plan. We were a little bit bummed because we were really looking forward to not only the trip, but also just kind of the challenge of packing for a few days stay on an ATV. So we were really looking forward to doing that. So we were missing out on that part of the trip, but that's fine. We wanted to go with the safety and go with the comfort a little bit. And of course, because part of the trail was missing at one end, and then we didn't know where to park. So that's fine. So we take the truck and our trailer and our ATV. We go straight to Wallace River Ranch and Domes. We do our check-in. We get unpacked really quickly, and then bang, we're back out on the bike. So, okay, so far not too bad. A little bit off plan. It's okay. We're making it work.
Back up a tiny bit. We realized one thing on the way down. So as Mel said, we were going to take the truck. Air conditioning. There was going to be reprieve from the heat. So about halfway, we were traveling with the windows down, trying to climatize a little because it was hot. For our southern friends there down in the U.S., we're talking like between 100 and 110 degrees Fahrenheit. Like really hot, humid weather for this area. We normally don't get temperatures like that. For us, like 32 is pretty warm for our summer, so we're talking about like 64 in the 90s Fahrenheit. Thereabouts, and I'm doing real rough calculations in my head. So
we'll double check this math later.
But anyway, ballpark figures here. So about halfway down, we're like, no, the heat's just too bad. We got to turn the air conditioner on. So we roll the windows up, snap the air conditioner on. Nothing but hot air.
Hot air,
so,
like just blasting.
Hot air.
It's hotter than it was.
So somewhere along the way, the high pressure line on a brand new truck I own broke. Mm-hmm. So anyway, it's getting fixed. That was the first thing. We were like, well, that's a bummer. Whatever. We're still going. We're gonna have a great adventure.
The truck's already packed at this point. We're not going back to repack into tiny dry bags and try to figure out how to load the bike when we already committed to truck camping at this point.
No. So even if we're riding the bike, we're gonna be in heat anyway. So we said, screw it. It's part of the adventure. Let's get at her. So we get there. This is where Mel kind of ended her story. We get to the domes, we get unpacked, we get settled in, things are great. We stay, we have a couple, we have a hydration stop, we kind of look around our dome just to see what it's all about. It's the first time we had seen it. Check out the hot tub, of course. Didn't get in, but we looked at it because we were like, it's got a hot tub. Let's see how this thing works. So the adventure was, the hot tub didn't work initially.
Just for a minute.
Just for a minute. But once
Shout
again, we're like...
Shout out to Marianne and her husband. They fixed it very quick. but yeah.
Once again, we're like, screw it. We didn't come for the hot tub anyway. It's still going to be an adventure. So anyway, we're really quickly at the dome. Maybe like, an hour just until as we scatter our stuff around, get the bike off, talk to the owners. And we're back on the bike. So we hop on the bike, we hit the trail, we do a little preliminary run. We did the preliminary run while we're waiting for them to finish getting the dome ready.
Oh yeah, just for check-in.
So we landed,
took a little trip around.
We dumped the bike, we ran up the trail just a little bit to kind of check stuff out. Anyway, now we hit the trail in earnest after we get into the dome and stuff, and we decide we're going to go to Oxford. Because that was kind of the goal for this time, was to take the bike as far as Oxford and do some touring around there. So we make the run, and we get to Oxford. Things are great. We got some pictures, stuff like that. And the other thing I was trying to do was scout out some spots to fly the drone. And I wanted to get some pictures and video and stuff like that, because I'm an amateur photography and videographer. Videographer, thank you. English not strong, but
I like
anyway,
watching you struggle, to be honest.
I was looking at some places. We found some places. That's irrelevant. Well, it's kind of part of the story. But anyway, we start coming back. So just outside of Oxford, actually just outside of Pugwash, we're going along, and all of a sudden we hear bang. So somebody put a couple railroad spikes on the trail, or they got picked up in the gravel or something. But anyway, it was really weird. For like a 15-foot section, there was 3 or 4 railroad spikes. And of course, we picked one up in the back tire. And the hole was enormous. We're talking like, toonie-sized holes for our Canadian friends here. Like an 1.5-inch hole diameter. Like, it just shredded the tire. And we're about 14 kilometers away from Wallace. So...
And it was like after supper time, because the whole plan was to go out, all afternoon, come home, have a really late supper, and just kind of relax for the evening. So
soak in the hot tub.
Yeah, so we didn't really take anything, which is our bad, because we really should have.
Blew the tire. Even if I had patches and stuff like that, it wasn't going to fix that tire.
No, it wasn't going to hold. Nothing
like the tire was toast. It is toast.
It is toast.
Anyway, we're like, screw it. We can either walk or we can drive it. And I mean, either way, that bike's got to get back to the truck. So we drove it. We took our time. We drove slow, took the weight off that side, but still it was a struggle the whole way. 10 to 12 kilometers, me fighting the bike because it wants to pull hard to one side. Arms cramping up, going slow, whatever. Most people would have been like, oh, that's so crappy. And we're like, you know what?
In 40-degree weather.
In 40-degree weather.
Don't forget that part.
But anyway, once again, it's just part of the adventure. We're like, oh, man, that's a bummer. We were put out. Don't get us wrong. We had more plans of using the ATV over the vacation.
Yeah.
The entire vacation we were taking was focused around our ATV trip.
Our 2+ days of ATVing straight very quickly went down to, 4
a couple hours?
Yeah, I think.
But anyway, we blew the tires. We limped it back. We got it back. We looked at the damage a little better, and we're like, yeah, this thing's shot. Didn't let it dampen our spirits. And that's kind of the idea of embracing the adventure. Like, I mean, we could have been put out about that. The air conditioning going, oh, now we're going to deal with the heat. Oh, well, you know what? Whatever. Oh, now the ATV's broke. Now we can't do anything with that. Yeah, it sucks, but you know what? There's still other things to do. And we did manage to find ways to entertain ourselves. We enjoyed the hot tub a little more than we were going to. Awesome, by the way. Once again, huge shout out to Wallace River Ranches. Their hot tubs are great. Nice and clean. Outside. It was nice at night. We got to watch the sunset from the hot tub, which if we had stayed out on the bike, we would have missed. And if we had left the truck in Pictou, now instead of driving 10 to 12 kilometers on a flat tire, we would have had to have figured out how to get somebody to pick my truck up with me having the keys. So they'd have to come all the way to Wallace, get the keys, drive all the way back to Pictou, grab the truck, then drive all the way back to Wallace to pick us up. So, I mean, it almost seemed like it was destined. But that's the thing. If you embrace the adventure, as bad as things seem to get,
ultimately, it still ends up working out. Because,
we still had a great adventure. So we got out there, we had fun, things were great, and anyway, that's kind of the end of the story, but that's the idea of embracing the adventure when you get out there. The bottom line is, it is what you make of it. Have a plan, of course. Like, we went out, we had a plan. We knew what we wanted to accomplish. We didn't really have a plan on how to accomplish the goal, because we kind of want to be a little loosey-goosey and allow some flexibility and stuff like that. Maybe not as much flexibility as not having a bike, but we went out there and we're just like, yeah, our goal for our time out there is we're going to hit Oxford, we're going to do some sightseeing there, we'll look around Wallace while we're going through, and we're going to really investigate these domes, because once again, we were one of the first people to get out there and check it out. And we accomplished everything. Honestly, we did. I mean, we blew up a bike and an air conditioner, but yeah, whatever. But it was fine. It was fun. It added to the adventure. Yes, it was hardships, but it's now things we can look back on and laugh at. And I'm still laughing at. Like, the truck's still not fixed. It's still sitting out there with a high pressure line. Ford said, hopefully I'll get it before the end of summer. Good job, Ford. But anyway, yeah,
And the bike, we're waiting for another tire to come in because it's a special size.
Oh yeah, of course. My bike is modified and takes a weird size
There's
tire.
no easy fix for any of these things. We
But
weren't
it is
just
what
going to
it
stop
is.
for 20 minutes and get the hose line popped back on so we could keep on our adventure. And we weren't going to get a tire in Wallace, which is absolutely nowhere, on a Saturday night. So, or Monday night, actually, I think it was.
So disclaimer for anybody that has a 2019 Plus Ford Ranger, apparently to work on the air conditioner, you almost have to pull the motor the way these things are designed. They were telling me that apparently they're still really popular in Australia and they moved everything to the back. So hopefully things like this wouldn't happen as often. But when they do, guess what? You're into a ton of crap. But anyway, yeah, we went out, we had fun. And once again, we had that loose plan. We knew what we wanted to accomplish. It seemed like there was hurdles coming up every time to try and stop us from that. But you just kind of roll with it. Just accept it for what it is and be like, all right, so that changed. What can we do now to still achieve our goals and have a decent time doing it? And that's kind of the embracing the adventure. It's like, stuff's going to go wrong. If your trip goes 100% to plan, you get out there and everything's right to script, it almost turns a little dull in my mind. Like, you can get out, you can see some stuff, things go good. I'm not knocking it, don't get me wrong, but it almost seems too scripted, too cookie cutter. I almost hope for minor inconveniences when you get out there, because it makes a little bit of a challenge, you have a little bit more fun, and it's just interesting to see where the day is going to bring you. But to do something like that, you really do have to have the mentality of, oh well, let's move on.
Well, I mean, like a lot of people that we talk to, I'm for myself, like other wives, and not to stereotype, but I've been told a lot of times, like, oh, I don't, I could never do that, or I wouldn't want to do that. Like, I wouldn't want to, sleep in a tent at minus 40, and I don't want to go out backpacking in plus 40, and I don't want to deal with bugs, and I'm afraid of forest animals, and how do you poop in the woods, and all of the questions and all of the fears that people have about getting out and enjoying nature and being in the forest and exploring their local natural areas, that they just, it's all fear-based, right? They don't want, what if this happens, and oh, I couldn't go on a 2-day ATV adventure. What happens if the tire blows up and you're stuck in absolutely nowhere and you don't even have your phone with you and there's nowhere for you to go? I mean, we'll figure it out. We're not going to perish in the woods. We'll figure something out. And those times when we're in very remote areas where perishing in the woods is a real chance, we always have a team of people at home who know where we are, and we have check-in times and stuff like that. So really, we aren't going to perish in the woods. No. The worst case scenario is not going to happen. That's not going to happen. So it's changing that, and I think it's actually Dr. Brene Brown gives this little lecture. You can look her up if you want to. She says a lot of amazing things about a lot of amazing things. She does. She covers a whole wide variety of topics. But one of the things I remember from actually some of my education was to change your fear mindset into an excitement mindset. Because the reaction inside your body, physiologically, is the exact same. So if you're afraid of something, you get that, the quickening of the heart, and you get a little sweaty, and you get, shaky, and, all those things. But if you change that fear and recast it as excitement, I'm not afraid to do this. I'm excited to try this adventure. You'll have all those same feelings. Your body is still reacting to this, oh, I don't know. But you're going to look at it with a positive mindset. You're going to go into it thinking, I don't know what's going to happen, but that's part of the adventure. Then there's no missed expectations. There's no, feeling of failure. There's no fear, because no matter what happens, that it's just going to be part of the adventure, and you're still going to come out alive at the other end of it, and you're going to have memories and stories to tell, and you're going to have learned new things and experienced new things. And really, if that isn't what living life is about, then what is it about? If you're not here to do things and see things and be a part of the world that exists around you, there's really, not much left. So you can go into it being fearful, or you can go into it with an adventure mindset. You can go into it really embracing whatever happens, and I'm going to remember what happens forever, because it's going to be amazing. and just turn all of those things, like the broken air conditioner and the brand new dome that wasn't 100%, ready for us to stay in. And
oh yeah, it leaked. I forgot we had a rainstorm and it leaked on us.
They had just finished assembling them.
And that's
they were
the thing.
still testing them.
They told us,
we knew that.
tell us anything that's wrong so we can fix this.
And we were willing participants because it was part of their adventure, and they were inviting us to be a part of it. And it was all embraced in that thing. Even when the tire exploded beside of me and we were like, oh no, we are so far away. It was just like, okay, well, what do we do now? It wasn't oh, you didn't bring the patch kit and we didn't bring our cell phones and I don't have toilet paper or a phone. Like, this is going to suck if we have to walk for 15 kilometers before we can find anybody.
For the record, we had both phones and toilet paper. No patch kit, though.
But you know what I mean? You don't turn that into a blaming situation of you ruined our anniversary trip.
No, the damage is done. There's no sense harking on it or dwelling on it. Just move on. I mean, now it's just a new situation you got to deal with. And do it the best you can and enjoy it as you can.
Yeah.
So, and don't misunderstand. We're not saying go out and be reckless either.
Oh, gosh, no.
Once again, we had measures in place. We did have our phone. If something went terribly wrong, I could have called them. I had notified one of my buddies that has an ATV of where I was going and when I was expected to be back. And if I didn't come back a day after expected, take the bike, come down and walk down the trail for me, please. I had told family, yeah, we're going out. Well, Melissa's parents, they knew we were going in and that we were supposed to come out at a certain time, and we had check-ins. We checked in with them every night, and if we didn't, chances are they would have got concerned. And we told them, like, if you don't hear from us on this time at this night,
they just know.
Maybe notify
when
somebody.
We're on anniversary adventure. Unless we say explicitly no cell phone coverage, we will check in on the day after when we get out far enough. Like, they'll wait for that call. They know, but they always ask us exactly where we're going to be and how long we're going to be and when we're coming back. And yeah.
And the thing is, that's not people prying into your personal life, because I have heard that before. Well, I don't want people to know where I'm going.
I don't want to leave my whereabouts.
You need to know where you are to.
That's where perishing in the woods becomes a real downer to your adventure.
Exactly. We told them where we were going to be, what our plan was, loosely. Like we said, we didn't know the times when we were going to be anywhere, but we knew we were going to the domes. We knew we were going to try and take the bike to Pugwash. So somewhere between there and there, you're going to be able to find us. And the other great thing, especially preparing for stuff like that, is your cell phone has a location program on it. And anytime that we go out, I turn mine on and I leave my information with somebody. They can literally jump on Google and go, okay, this is their last known whereabouts where the phone picked up. So as long as I got phone service to some degree, and the domes did have internet, so I knew at that point I was going to connect there. They could at least tell we got to Wallace, and then we were going to be down. So once again, put some safety things into play, but they kind of roll with the punches. I mean, there was no point in us calling somebody to come down and try and get the bike out of there, in all honesty.
And Robert makes fun of me because I overpack, and I do. Because I am one of those people that likes to have something
everything
for any kind of situation that might happen. It has saved our butts a lot of times. So, I mean, he can complain about it if he wants to. You were happy about the anti-diarrhea medication that one time in the woods.
Yeah, but you know what? I pooped a lot in the woods, too.
But, like, you pack a lot of things just in case something happens. And there is something to be said about pre-planning, like you said, not only telling your whereabouts, but, like, think about the most likely scenarios that you might need to face. And, take something that might help you in that situation if it were to come up. You don't need to overpack like a crazy person, but I just mean, thinking through some of the most potential outcomes is helpful. But obviously, like, we had no idea the truck was going to blow an air conditioning line. We didn't, bring another backup way to stay cool. We were just like, okay, really committed to taking cold showers if we had to, or, like living in the hot tub outside.
We were going to figure it out. And when we did go out in the ATV, we brought extra water. Because we debated taking food, and we're like, nah, we'll just eat when we get back, but let's grab some extra water. One, it's hot. Two, if something happens, we need to make sure we have something to drink because it's hot. Mm-hmm. So, once again, take your basic precautions there. Think outside the box a little bit. Take a handful of things that may help you in a couple situations. And if something comes up, just don't really stress over it. I mean, as long as you're breathing and you're not hurt, things are okay. In all honesty, things are okay, provided you told somebody where you're at. Worst case, you're going to have an uncomfortable night and somebody's going to come looking for you. I mean, that is literally as bad as it can get if you've taken all the necessary steps and you didn't do something that actually injured you. And if you did injure yourself, once again, as long as you can get yourself through that little window when somebody's going to be expecting you to check in, you didn't, and they send help, that's all you really got to get through. So as long as you are somewhat smart about what you do, put your safety features into play, go out and have fun. I mean, things are going to go wrong. It's life. If nothing,
and don't let it hold you back. Is our other point too, right? Like,
yeah, so, that's what I mean. Things are going to go wrong. Just accept it.
Just even try. It's not worth being afraid of. Just do it.
And it's not.
And enjoy the adventure.
In my opinion, it's people aren't afraid of what goes wrong. They're afraid of failure. Because once again, things go wrong in your day-to-day life, but most people, they're afraid of failure. They don't like the idea of failing at something. They don't like what they think the consequences of failing are. And once again, that's my opinion. You know what I mean? It's just what I've noticed when talking to people with work and going out in the woods and stuff like that. It's generally the fear of failure. Failure is not a bad thing. Failure can teach you a lot of how not to do something. And you can learn a lot of lessons from when something doesn't go right. That may make it better next time, or it may give you the proper solution. Like, don't be scared of failure. Embrace your failure to some degree. Acknowledge it's going to be there, and try and learn from it as best as you can. That way, next time when you're faced with this kind of situation or something comes up, guess what? You already have a database up in here, where you can draw some of those experiences from and make a plan. Like, I mean, I'm the first one to admit I have done a lot of dumb things. I have found at least every single way I can think of how not to do a half a dozen things. But you know what? Like, take it hand drill. I had blisters and a lot of stuff like that. Like, I learned a lot about how not to do a hand drill long before I learned how to do a hand drill. And take that kind of mentality to everything you do. When you go to the woods, don't worry about it. Like, I mean, be smart, but just roll with it. Don't let it deter you. Take that into your day-to-day life. If you go to work, something goes wrong, it's a bummer, but guess what? Tomorrow is still going to come. What did you learn? What went well? What didn't go well? And what are you going to do different next time? Like, that's a common thing we do in the fire service. We call it a debrief. After any major incident or scene or anything really that is worth discussing, we literally say, we get together and go, okay, what worked? Even if it was a failure, what worked at that time? Then what didn't work, which sometimes is where the discussion starts up and the jokes start and things like that. And then what would you do next time, or what would you do differently next time, or what are we going to do next time? And that's basically all you can do, is just let it happen, or don't let it happen. When it happens, accept it happened. And now analyze the situation, make the best call you can, keep moving on, and next time you'll have a better go.
It's funny that you brought it back to the fire service, because that's what I was thinking too. But more in the way of, you know, how it's another thing that people say, I couldn't do that, or, you know, that would be, you know, scary for me to, you know, be an emergency responder. But the more, you know, in the first few times it can be, it's very overwhelming. It's a big commitment, and it has a lot of moving parts. But the more you do it, the more comfortable you get with, I mean, you still get all of the same adrenaline and the, you know, those feelings of, you know, what am I walking into, and how am I going to handle it, and what are we going to do, and how is it going to turn out? But the more you do it, the more you teach yourself that it always ends up the way it's going to end up. That it doesn't matter, you know, as long as you're there and you give it your all, and you approach it with just kind of an open mind and positivity, then everything's going to go the way that it's going to go, and you're going to have done your part to the best of your ability, and everything is going to be fine afterwards. It's that, and it's the same thing for outdoorsing. When you face that fear of, you know, spending your first night in a tent, maybe if you were afraid to do that, and you were, you know, you didn't know how it was going to go, then you did it. Then, you know, the next time you can say, well, I did it once, you know, I'll probably be able to do it again. And then, you know, you do it a really cold night, and you're like, okay, well, I did that, so I can do that again. Or, you know, let's try something different. Every time that you face something that you might otherwise, you know, recoil from, or just not want to engage in, you really teach yourself your own capability of, you know, being able to be resilient in these situations, and see them turning out, you know, fine, or ultimately as good as they were going to go. Whether you panicked or not, things were still going to happen the way they happened. So really controlling that and just rolling with it and understanding that, okay, well, that didn't work. Let's see what else we can do here. Is really just the best way to approach a lot of things in life, but definitely being outside.
So a saying I use a lot, Mel doesn't necessarily like this saying, but I say it a lot, is tomorrow comes regardless. And that means doesn't matter what happened today, tomorrow is still going to come, so don't get too hooked up on it. I mean, doesn't matter how bad everything went, guess what? The sun's going to rise tomorrow unless something really bad happened. But I mean, generally tomorrow's still coming. You know what I mean? The day is still going to dawn. Life moves on, time moves on. In a year, whatever is going on right now is definitely not going to seem like that big of a problem. I can almost guarantee you that.
And if it is a really big problem, it's still going to be something that you learn something from. It's still going to be a part of who you are and your memory, and it's going to shape the things that you do later on. So embracing the things as they come, whatever they are, is really the way to embrace life.
What do I always say? Organized chaos is the only way I can live at this point. But yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of the point we were making, unless you want to say anything else on that. It's going to be kind of a quick episode tonight. We just got chatting about it, and it was a good topic, because sometimes we get asked about that, and we do have the, I couldn't imagine doing because of whatever, and honestly, it comes back, once again, my opinion, there's a fear of failure, there's a fear of the unknown, and there's a fear of what happens if something goes wrong. Once again, truth is, failure happens, life goes on, things don't always go to plan. So what?
It's an adventure.
Exactly.
It's Atlantic Bushcraft adventures.
Life is an adventure. Enjoy the journey. Somebody said that once. I can't remember who it was. But it's so true. Like, just don't let your little hiccups, or don't get hung up on your little hiccups.
Don't let it ruin the entire experience and the opportunity that you have for learning and doing and exploring.
Exactly. So I think for tonight, instead of running around in circles, which we were starting to do towards the tail end of this anyway, I think we'll end it there. Just kind of a quickie for this week. Hopefully next week it'll either be Ben back, or maybe Melissa will join us again if Ben's still trying to get himself moved. Oh, no.
That was the joke I made earlier.
But anyway, yeah, hopefully next week Ben is back. He was trying his hardest to get here tonight, but unfortunately his car got hung up and all that stuff is good. And anyway, we got this. We're pretty smooth that way. But yeah. Thanks for tuning in for us tonight. Tomorrow. Oh my goodness, I am having a stroke.
It has been a long
Next week, we'll be back on Wednesday, the same time, new topic, all that good stuff. Once again, folks, thanks for joining us. My name's Robert.
I'm Melissa.
We're Atlantic Bushcraft Adventures for tonight. Once again, Ben couldn't join us. Hopefully he'll be back next week. We'll see you then. Get out there, have fun, get dirty, play safe. Night, everybody. Are you not going to say goodnight?
Good night.